Good evening. Welcome to the Rare Book Room. My name is Nick, and I help run the events here at Strand. For a little bit of history, the Strand was founded in 1927 over on 4th Avenue's Book Row. Stretching from Union Square to Astor Place, Book Row gradually dwindled until after over 92 years. Strand is the sole survivor, still run by the Bass family, the original family who started it, running 400 events a year, and still housing new and used books. Tonight, I'm excited to welcome Rob Paulsen, the creator, host, and producer of the highly successful Talkin' Tunes podcast, and prolific voice actor whose career spans over 2,000 credits. He has received a Daytime Emmy, 3 Annie Awards, and a Peabody. In addition to his many appearances in the convention circuit, he is currently on tour with Animaniacs Live. This week, Rob launched his new memoir, Voice Lessons, with fellow co-author Michael Fleeman, who is also joining us this evening. Michael is a best-selling author, television writer/commentator, and college teacher. He covered the Hollywood beat, major crime stories, and sensational trials for People magazine and the Associated Press, and has written a dozen true crime books, including the New York Times bestseller, The Stranger in My Bed. Stay with us after the discussion for a special musical performance featuring Rob and Emmy Award-winning composer Randy Rogel. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Rob, Michael, and later, Randy to the Strand.
My goodness.
Wow, thank you so much for lowering your standards. Honestly, this, I was just telling my dear friend Jenny Enscat from Grand Blanc High School. By the way, Mike, Jenny is here. Mike? No, my brother is in the back. Hi, Mike.
I have a picture of us.
Jenny. How about, Jenny said, I haven't seen Mike since 1975, 4? There, that's as good as it gets. But honestly, this is an incredible thrill, as you can imagine. My dear friend Mike Fleeman here did all the heavy lifting, and as a result of our friends at Start Publishing, Viva Editions, and our lovely agent Amy Bishop, we've just been profoundly lucky, and this is our first signing event, and it's pretty freaking surreal in the most glorious way. So thank you so much for taking the time to come out here and share this pretty spectacular evening with us. And as I have a predisposition to ramble uncontrollably, no wonder they call me Yakko, for God's sake. I'll let the man who, as I said, did all the heavy lifting take over.
Well, we'll do what we did for the last year, which is I will ask questions,
Great.
and you will answer them.
Yes,
so
I will.
We'll start that way. You know, Rob, why, after this long and successful career, why did you decide now to write your memoirs?
Well, and that actually is the $100,000 question. There have been many of you, and some of you are here tonight. I have some friends, Dominic, some friends who I've had the great good fortune of knowing and seeing many times.
I just saw you last night. Have you gone to sleep at all? No, okay, me neither.
But very kind and well-meaning fans said, oh my God, Rob, you know, you've done all this work, you should write a book. And I thought, seriously, the last thing the world needs is another celebrity memoir, especially from a non-celebrity. And it's not, it's true, and it's not false modesty. I'm good at my job, but it's a tangential celebrity. The characters are famous. I don't draw them, and I don't write them. And I have utter respect for those who do, because, you know, we got nothing if it doesn't all happen. But then, as they say, we make plans and God laughs. And so he said, okay, hotshot, Mr. Emmy winner, Mr. Fancy Schmancy cartoon guy, let's see what you're made of. How about let's, you know, not toenail fungus, let's try throat cancer. Let's see how that happens. And I promise you, at not one time did either my wife or me say, why me? Why not me? And look, I'm in a room with a bunch of lovely people, and virtually every one of us knows someone who's had cancer. And I'm sure many of you have lost people whom you love and maybe had it yourself. So I thought in the middle of my treatment, if I get through this, now I got a story.
Well, in the beginning, you had thought of doing your memoir anyway, and we met.
Right, because
we
we met.
met for lunch.
We
at
had a fancy Mason, Bob's Big Boy
by
Burbank.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And we had lunch, and Rob, we have a mutual friend, and he was interested in writing his memoirs. And he told me, and he has many of the stories that you'll find in Voice Lessons, he told me, very inspirational stories, and how cartoon characters touch people and inspire people. And he said he was thinking of writing his memoirs, and I said that would be a great idea. And then I didn't hear from him for a year, which in Hollywood is not unusual. No.
Yeah.
And our friend called, and they said, well, have you heard from Rob? And I said, no. What's going on? And she said, well, maybe Rob should tell you. And so Rob called, and he said, well, you know, I'm battling throat cancer. Do you think that'll help the book?
That's great. It's what, and give up show business? Yeah. And like Mike said, if I were going to write a memoir, even before I got diagnosed, it was going to be about the absolute power of these characters that I never knew. I truly didn't. As a result of Comic Cons, you guys just endured another one last week. As a result of Comic Cons and the ubiquity of them, I've gotten to travel around the world and see how people are affected by these characters on a deep personal level. People who tell me things, you know, Mr. Paulsen, I was in the foster system from the time I was 6 months old till I was 18, and I was at 6 different homes in that time. And as long as there was a television, I had something I could hold on to. And I'm here now with my family, and pardon me, every goddamn one of us is dressed as a Ninja Turtle because I submit that it kept me from doing something I should not have do.
Well, why don't we segue to this guy?
Yes.
'Cause
Oh,
he's-
yeah. Yes, look at him.
Why don't we? When you deal with Rob, when you deal with Rob, you don't just deal with Rob. You deal with a cast of characters and critters and people in his head. But why don't we talk about this guy, because he's sort of whoop. We are gone too.
Which one are we doing?
The turtle guy?
Yeah, we're gonna start with the turtle
Raphael,
guy.
yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
You know how you know when it's the first signing?
What's that?
The PowerPoint doesn't
I got
work.
it. Yeah.
So why don't we talk about him? Because this
Please.
kind of got your cartoon voice
did.
acting thing started.
It really did. That was certainly the first, from a clean sheet of paper, big show that I got to work on, which has become, anybody can argue, utterly iconic. And moreover, exactly what I just touched on. Mike uses our sweet little friend Chad Gazzola as a metaphor in the book.
Although he is a real guy. He's
a
not
real guy.
Yeah.
He is. But he is the metaphor for the literally hundreds of children whom I've or Pinky and Yakko and Raphael and Donatello and Carol and a whole bunch of us have talked to, and not just me. It has to be said, all the actors whom you love who do this work, all of us are absolutely privileged to have those conversations. When you get a chance to talk with somebody and whose parents say, you know, my little boy or little girl is pretty much not going to leave this hospital unless it's in a bag. And it's difficult, very difficult to even comprehend. And I apologize if I'm saying something that hurts anyone's feelings out there, but it's really important in the context of the book. Chad was the first little kid I met as a result of playing hockey in Calgary. And I was up there to play hockey to benefit the Calgary, the Southern Alberta chapter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Chad and his parents had not one, but 2 children with muscular dystrophy. Surprise! All of a sudden, throat cancer doesn't sound like such a big deal, does it? And so they said, by the way, Mr. Raphael, this young fellow who's going to come out to drop the ceremonial puck in his motorized wheelchair covered in turtle everything, including his little jammies, which were turtle jammies, he lives for the turtles. So I think the picture is in the book. He comes out, and I lost it, because he was the same age as my own son, who's fine, married, all of that. But
and wrote the foreword.
He wrote my son Ash wrote the foreword and did the audio version of it on the audiobook. But it was a stark, right square between the eyes example of courage. And I got to know his family very well. And the story about Chad is in the book, but ultimately he didn't make it. I take that back. He did make it. He made it about 10 years longer than his parents and his doctors thought he was going to make it. And his mother, to this day, I had lunch with her and her family in Calgary earlier this year, and I had given Chad a Ninja Turtle jacket because we had a game the night before in Edmonton, and I brought 200 pictures with me, and they were gone. So I had nothing left to sign for Chad but my turtle jacket. And the stories about how Mrs. Gazzola would keep in contact with me all the time about, honey, this little boy will not take that jacket off. And he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And I'm not going to argue with his mom. She says that he lived an extra 10 years because of that frickin' turtle jacket. But that was the first time that I really said, holy crap, this is way bigger than an action figure. And the same thing with SpongeBob. I've seen grown firemen, when Kevin Conroy comes out and says, I am vengeance, I am the knight, I am Batman. I see people just start to go like this. And it's not a bunch of 8-year-olds, folks. It's remarkable. I've seen Tom Kenny make people laugh till they cried by doing SpongeBob.
Tell us about the voice and how you came up with the voice.
Well, the voice is pretty much mine.
Yeah, that's him.
And because as my brother and my brother-in-law and my dear friend Jen will attest to, I'm a bit of a smartass, and it fits perfectly with Raphael. And just like when that show was being cast, the actors who ultimately ended up getting the roles, Townsend Coleman, Michelangelo, who also worked with me on a show called The Tick, in which he played the Tick, and I was Arthur. Yes, thank you. Or were you just, did somebody goose you? Hashtag you too. We all mixed and matched. And the producer said, hey, Rob, you're a smartass. We like that about Raphael, and it worked really, really beautifully. And the glorious part about my job is 25 years later, I got to be another turtle because nobody cares what I look like. It's pretty cool.
Now, this one, I think we know who he is.
Yeah. Are you going to finish that croissant?
What did Carl make out of being in your book?
Well, first of all... What? Hey, you might laugh, but I get chicks. Now, okay, they're baby chickens, but I get a surprising amount of phone numbers. I don't usually crave the spotlight, Mike. And so when Rob told me he was writing a book, I thought to myself, you can write? And then I thought, define book. Is it more of a pamphlet? You really have done a lot of PowerPoints.
I know.
My Saturday nights were dull.
This is not working.
That's okay. You want to go to that?
No.
I love the fact that this is...
Here, we'll go to this one.
All right. Anyway, that's the story.
Why not?
Right? I'm sticking to it. Oh, yes, and then I'll
stick to the writing in my IT career. Not going to happen. All right, so this was a game changer for you. This was a game changer. And we want to start here because you had worked with Steven Spielberg before.
I had, and I detailed his cars every morning.
Exactly. But you were on a very successful show that he had produced. You had established yourself as a voice actor. And yet Rob had to audition for this part.
Totally, but you know what? We have actors here tonight, and the fact is, Jen, you're a working actor, and Jenny is one of the really unique circumstances because you lived in L.A. But you did. You lived in L.A. We both went to the same high school. You went to L.A. and then you found a way to make a living as an actor, living in Ohio and New York and wherever you were comfortable living. That's really tough, and that's all she does. That's very difficult. And again, going back to what we said initially, the characters are famous. And so I have an Emmy, which as much as I don't want to give it back, the Emmy and $4 will get you a latte.
Not in New York.
Not in New York. The Emmy in fact, by the way, have you guys been to that giant frickin' Starbucks that's like the size of a Target? I forgot where it was, and I went and I said, I would like a cup of, and then they start telling me about how these beans were cultivated in Ethiopia and all of that, and we're going to do a pour over, and the way we crush the beans, you know, with just a $100 word, with just a soupçon of, you know, acid. I thought, it's like Jack Nicholson in 5 Easy Pieces. I just want some toast, you know? And then she said, that's $6.48. And I said, did you grow the goddamn coffee? But the point is that there is fame, and the people who know my work certainly give me more now than it used to be, because I've had the great good fortune of working a lot. However, still, it's not like being Kelsey Grammer. You have to audition because the people who have the money say, okay, yeah, he's done this and this, but like when Ninja Turtles came back. Here's a unique circumstance. I was almost a victim of my own ageism, because I was literally working at Nickelodeon when my agent sent me a text, call me, I got to ask you something. Viacom, who owns Nickelodeon, had bought the rights to Ninja Turtles. And I had been not doing Turtles for 20 years. So my agent said, they want you to come and read for Donatello on this new iteration. And I said, not out of arrogance, but honesty, do they know who I am? Because I didn't want to get in there. I was 55. I didn't want to get in there and have them say, oh, shoot, that's right, he was Raphael. Well, he's here. Let's, you know, he's a nice guy. We just want to throw him a bone. And it turned out I had forgotten that the people who watched all those shows had now grown up. And the people who made the show were between 35 and 40. And they said, no, we know precisely who you are. We just think you would be great for our vision of what we need from Donatello. Do you mind reading? And you know, the first thing that came to mind, well, of course not. I'm a journeyman and proud to be such. I'm not a movie star. And I got the damn job. And do you know that when I went for my third callback, John Cryer and Jason Bateman were there. And we're chatting, and they're going, oh my God, this is Ninja Turtles, bro. This is a really cool thing. And I got the job. And then I found out Sean Astin got the job, and he had to audition. And Seth Green got the job, and he had to audition. It's a different animal.
Now, when you had Yakko, though, there was no template.
No, that was a clean sheet of paper.
And that was created in the audition. Tell them how Groucho influenced the voice of Yakko.
Well, thank you, Mike. That is absolutely true. As you alluded to.
I read it in the book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. Your poor wife is going, oh my God. We had worked on Tiny Toon Adventures with Mr. Spielberg, and Tress MacNeille, the lovely, great Tress MacNeille, was Babs Bunny for a whole bunch of episodes, and then the word started getting out that, wow, the next show they're going to do is going to be a clean sheet of paper with Mr. Spielberg again. Tom Ruger, the creator, and Andrea Romano, the director, and Gene McCurdy, at the time the head of Warner Brothers Animation, came to me and said, we really would like for you to be the guy, but, you know, I said, I know, I got to audition. Happy to do it. It was about a 6-week, 6-callback audition. And as we progressed in the audition circumstance, it was, try this. What do you think about that? What do you think about this? Then it was like, well, you know, guess what? Surprise is kind of a smart ass too. You're getting good at this, Rob. Can you kind of infuse a little bit of Groucho? And they would write lines, hey, Batman, does Dracula know he's wearing your cape so badly? Can you throw things, you know, get hello, nurse. Well, that's Duck Soup, and that's A Night at the Opera, and all that stuff. And so we tried different tones, tonalities. It all went back and forth, and it's the only time in my career where I had a stark example of the axiom that luck is opportunity meeting preparation. And it's the first and only time and last time that I walked up to the producers once I started working on it and had a couple of callbacks and said, if you don't hire me for this, you're making a mistake. And again, it wasn't out of arrogance. It was like, oh my God, that's the high heat right over the plate. I mean, that's my pitch. But I still had to audition. And God bless them, and I think it's in the book, what they ended up doing was sending 10 final auditions of all the characters, and Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, to Mr. Spielberg, who made all the decisions. And it turned out that about 5
anonymously.
Yeah, anonymously. They put numbers because they didn't want the casting people and Mr. Spielberg to go, oh, Rob, I mean, I've heard him this. And I like the guy, but he's on Tiny Toons, and I know what he's done. So they numbered them. So Steven sent back, all right, I'm good on Yakko. I'm good with 3, 6, and 8, and they were all me.
Yeah.
Right? And that was a testament to Andrea and Tom Ruger, because they weren't, all 10 of them weren't me, but they did stack the deck as best they could. But ultimately, I had to do the gig.
Now, this little guy,
Yes, that
began
other one.
on the show. Now, tell you, this was influenced by what, Peter Sellers, Monty Python?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Jonathan Winters, Peter Sellers, Monty Python, Tony
This is Pinky,
Hancock.
of course. This is
Yes,
Pinky.
the stupid one. La 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 la.
Now, we opened the book with you giving some bad news to Pinky.
Yes.
How did you deliver that to him?
And by the way, these do they call them plot devices? Is that what you call them? It was utterly Mr. Fleeman doing this, because you said, your words were, we don't want it to be, and then I did, and you might remember me from, and then I won, and then I was fired, and then I went to rehab again, and then I got remarried after. It wasn't.
There's no
like
rehab in the book.
Yes. Day's not over. People, but Mike was the one. Mike, and it's not hyperbole. Mike did do all the heavy lifting. He said, we don't want this to be another, literally, a memoir. We want it to be entertaining, knowing the audience. We know who butters our bread. And I mean that literally. I know that I got nothing without an audience. I don't make my car payments without an audience. And so Mike said, well, let's cater to that. Let's play to our strengths. So why don't we open up with you telling one of your characters the pretty bad news?
All right, you just segued yourself,
Yeah.
so we can...
You want to do it?
yeah, well, you do it.
All right.
I don't do the voices so
that's
well.
right. Plus
This is an introduction from
I
Pinky.
can't pay you.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, here's where it goes like this. And this is, again, Mike's doing. Pinky, I got to tell you, dude, I got some bad news.
Is it really bad, Rob?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know, maybe you can guess what it is?
Oh no! Wait a minute. Rosie O'Donnell is back on network TV.
No.
I'm soaking in it.
No.
Oh, you've got me all freaked out, Rob. You've got me all.
Center, Namyo Renge Kyo. Just take. Thank you for getting that.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Ooh, okay, I'm all right.
Well, let me put it this way, Pinky. I'm a Pisces, not a Cancer, although it seems I have it.
You what? You have cancer? Are you going to die?
Well, I suppose I could. I don't really know yet.
Well, who's going to pay for this bloody car?
You don't drive.
Yeah, but you do, you idiot. And they call me the dumb one. Don't you die on me. I need food pellets and maybe even a reboot someday.
Right? And so that was Mike's plot
My
device. And
Saturday.
Surprise, this is my first ex-wife. You don't yet. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. Meanwhile,
But that was Mike's doing. And do you know, we've had a couple of real live reviews, and they all say, wow, that was really clever, really effective.
well,
And
we wanted to know how your characters would deal with you.
yeah, because
you
honest to God, they're not too different from yours truly.
Without Rob, there's no Pinky, and without Pinky, there's no Rob. And we wondered if Pinky would miss Rob, and
Yeah.
he was worried about the reboot. And I think we can. We buried the lead, but there will be a reboot. of
Yes, by the way,
Animaniacs.
I don't know if you've
Yes.
read social media, but yes. Thank you.
Hey, who's it going to star, Rob? Who's going to be starring in the reboot?
I'm telling you, anytime the King of Hollywood says, "Hey, you guys want to do this again?" I mean, and let me. It's in the book, but this is so worth sharing. It's important, I think, for people to understand when you do have the opportunity to rub shoulders with the greats, with people who could behave in any way in which they choose. A guy like Steven Spielberg, he's got all the money he'll ever need. We know who he is, and when you do get a chance, I don't bowl with him. We do have a macrame class together every other Thursday at the Learning Annex. But when you get a chance to see how people move through their lives that could behave any way they can, and they are examples of how to behave with that kind of power, it's important to understand that not only did Mr. Spielberg decide, 72 years old, has nothing else to prove, and say, I think we should do this again. There were 4 pitches, Apple, Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon, and Mr. Spielberg went to every pitch. Not only that, before he did, he made sure that Maurice LaMarche, Tress MacNeille, Jess Harnell, and yours truly sent him our 8x10s because he had them blown up to 2 feet by 3 feet. And he, in this day and age in which a lot of celebrities end up doing cartoons, which is fine. Look, I'm a capitalist. I get it. If you got $500,000 and you want to pay Brad Pitt to be the talking dragon, good for you. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. You got to have a script and you got to have artists and all that. But Mr. Spielberg went way beyond that, and he said, okay, I'm not sure which one of you are going to do this with, but these 4 actors still do it. 20 years later, I can play you a video right now of Rob singing that goofy song that our friend Randy wrote. But they're in. So if we do this, whomever we do it with, these guys are doing it. Don't ask me to get Liam Neeson, or we're going to get, as Maurice LaMarche suggests, we're going to get Russell Brand to be Pinky and Peter Dinklage to be the Brain. Isn't that great? So Steven went to bat for journeyman actors, and yesterday they finally said, all right, you can tell people, and so we're all coming back.
The entire cast is going to be coming back.
Yeah.
Now, Rob Paulsen wasn't always an internationally famous superstar, and we're going to speed through the rest of your life so we can get to Randy.
Yeah, because you guys got to get home.
Yeah, I know. But Rob began, and we talk about your life, and one of the things that was important to me in the book is Rob is obviously very funny. He's very optimistic. He's very kind. But optimism as a writer is a very difficult thing to write, because it comes off as sappy
you said that.
Not genuine. I said we had to earn the optimism, right? We had to earn the optimism.
It's a fascinating phrase. I get it. No, I see.
We should have put it in the book, but we. All right, the sequel.
Earn the optimism.
If you get another disease, we will.
I will. Thank you. I'm working.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I wanted Rob, to show where he came from, both professionally and personally. And he came from Michigan and grew up in Michigan. Yay.
Grand Blanc, Michigan.
Grand Blanc, Michigan.
Go Bobcats.
But like a lot of actors, and we get into this, and it's very funny. I mean, I'll get serious for a second. But for a lot of actors, they don't get a lot of support when they start out, and Rob did not get. His family was supportive, but a lot of the book talks about his father, and I don't know that this is what your dad intended for you to do, and was very worried about him as a father would, that he was going to be able to make a living. And,
sure.
And I think, to me, the most, really heart-wrenching line in the book was when you were doing plays with a traveling theater troupe.
That's right.
And they came through town, and you introduced a couple of the people from the theater troupe to your father, and it's like, this is what I do, Dad. And his father said, well, what am I going to tell my friends?
Yeah, yes, that's not too dissimilar.
So a lot of the book, a lot of the book is Rob, and obviously it ends well, and your dad was a huge Turtles fan and got the VIP treatment, but I want to show you where Rob started out. I don't think they have Jack in the Boxes in New York, but if you're from California, there are Jack in the Boxes.
This is how all you SAG members out there. I signed with my agency, Sutton Bartham and I, by whom I'm still represented 40 years later. People don't know this, but I was the entertainment at the Last Supper. I was Shecky of Arimathea. Jesus, what a party. And you know, it was really fine until they started doing karaoke, and Judas gets up and starts doing Backstabbers. And I thought, oh, come on, it's Yom Kippur. We can talk about Jews. Anyway. But I signed with my agency, and I got home, and Dick Barth said, hey, you got an audition tomorrow for Jack in the Box.
Right. So this is in the 70s. This is shortly after
1979.
Rob. And Rob is currently, at this time, working as the handyman at his, and this will become relevant later.
At the Esplanade Village Apartments, Mike. Remember when we all lived? Yeah.
Yes, in Redondo Beach. So this is Rob's first, I think, his first appearance. Now, I just want to set the stage, because you don't know, Jack in the Box is a fast food. We just call it crap in a sack in L.A. And they had the very bad idea to combine onion rings and French fries into one product and call them Frings. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the spokesman for Frings.
Yeah, here we go.
Now it doesn't play.
My Saturday nights were dull and dreary until I had my first Frings.
My lunch hours were really boring until I started having Frings.
Why have the same old thing? Have a Fring. At Jack in the Box, we put our crisp, delicious French fries together with our tangy golden onion rings in one bag and invented Frings.
I just had my first Fring, and my taste buds will never be the same again.
So go have a Fring, only at Jack in the Box.
How about that?
And that's how you get a SAG card. When this screened, Rob was cleaning a sink trap at the
true
apartment.
Story.
True, it's in the book. Rob was cleaning a sink trap in this lady's kitchen in the apartments, and she says, "Hey, the guy on the Jack in the Box commercial looks just like you."
It came on while I was cleaning this lady's sink trap.
All right, we're going to show you one more commercial, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the cancers.
Oh, great, please, yeah.
But this is, you probably don't know this, but Rob actually doesn't appear, but you can hear him in the first Got Milk commercial.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
This is a great commercial.
This is a great commercial. He's not the guy on screen, but listen to...
Directed by Michael Bay. That's right. Truth. Genius commercial.
And that was the Vienna Wood Dance in D, one of my all-time favorites. And now let's make that random call with today's $10,000 question. It's a tough one. Who shot Alexander Hamilton in that famous duel? All right, let's go to the phones and see who's out there. Hello, for $10,000, who shot... Excuse me? I'm afraid your time is almost up. I'm sorry, maybe next time.
Isn't that a genius commercial? That actor, Sean Whalen, you probably recognize, he's really been around, but that is a fantastic commercial, and it was directed by, the first commercial directed by Michael Bay, who is worth all the money in the world now.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Yes, that's you.
Now we're gonna lighten it up.
I love this picture. We're gonna lighten it up with a little cancer.
Yeah.
So Rob did tell me.
Spoiler: I lived.
Yeah. And I write true crime books normally, and I told Rob, I said, this is hopefully the first book I ever write in which nobody dies in it.
Yeah.
So luckily, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So this is where he earns the optimism, and we've had a lot of fun tonight, and we'll have some more, but I think really the core of the book, we didn't want to write a cancer book.
No.
We didn't want to do another cancer memoir. We didn't want to do a celebrity memoir. We didn't want to do a behind the scenes we wanted to do it all and kind of combine it seamlessly. But mostly it's a story, I think, really about joy and optimism and humor and how it can help you. And for so many years, Rob would tour hospitals and meet with sick kids and see the power of animation, the power of these characters. And then one day Rob got throat cancer, which talk about irony, you know. And all of a sudden now Rob is the one who needs that kind of support and that kind of cheerleading. And I think the transition was a little interesting and what did not come naturally to him. And I think one of the more profound things he says in the book is I used to be sympathetic and now I'm empathetic. Yeah. And now he really understands what it means to need help. And a lot of the book talks about how humor and joy and the characters got him through cancer. He did come back, and we framed the book. We framed the book around the Animaniacs reboot, because what you didn't say was that as they were discussing the reboot, and we want to bring back the cast, and Steven wants you, and Rob had a secret, which was that there was something growing in the back of his throat, and he didn't know if he was going to be able to do Pinky and Yakko, or even survive long enough to do the reboot. And he didn't initially tell the producers, and eventually had to. And so we wanted to earn the optimism. I wanted to earn the joy. I wanted this not to be sappy, that Rob did go through an awful lot. And so that when you're done reading the book, you know, you can feel true and genuine optimism. And I think this photo, which we put at the top of our proposal, Hannah and the rest of the editors and people from the publisher are here tonight, but I slapped this picture right on the top of our proposal, because this is how Rob went about cancer. That's him. What are you getting? Is it a CAT scan or something, or chemo, radiation?
That's right. That's when they first
thumbs
started.
up. And you know, there are scenes of him, and you know, it's not maudlin, but it's true. I think we tried to be realistic about it. He tried to get through cancer with humor, and to me, the most moving part was when the nurse said, "Look, you don't have to try to make everybody happy. Yeah. You know, you don't always have to be on. You don't always have to be Ron Paulsen entertaining the other people here in the hospital. Why don't you let somebody else take care of you for a while?" And I thought that was very touching. So by the end of the book, I think we've earned our humor. And boy, did I end this on a shitty note. So to bail us out, we have a keyboard here. I rented it myself. Thank you very much. We want to bring up Randy Rogel.
Yes. Now, come on up here.
And then we'll take some questions. Afterwards.
This is great. Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
I like that this is 18 miles of books, and now it's 18 miles and 1 inch.
Yeah. By the way, our book is a multi-purpose book, because if you have a table that's a little wonky,
perfect.
You shove it right under there, and it works like a charm. By the way, before you guys know Randy because you know Animaniacs and his music. Randy Rogel is the single most overachieving human I've ever met in my life.
My agent, Rob Paulsen, right now.
He graduated from West Point, right? Then he said, I don't know, went to Boston University, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, graduated from there too, because why not? Then he's working in corporate America, making a nice living, but you know, he's all about singing and dancing and writing, and I want to be in show business, blah, 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 blah. So he goes down to L.A., bangs on doors. I'm a writer, I'm a singer. Yeah, okay. Finally gets hired on Batman, the animated series. Okay, we know all about, right?
Batman's a good show.
Then he goes out and presently wins an Emmy for his writing on Batman. Then he hears about, because he's a song guy and a dancer and all this stuff, he hears about Animaniacs being produced across the hall. So he goes on, bangs on Tom Ruger's. No, Randy, you're right. You just won an Emmy. You're making even more money. Go write and be more. You're writing, win more Emmys. Yeah, but I'm a. So we're gonna do it later. But I'm just gonna go ahead and spill the beans. The song that Randy had in his back pocket to get him the job was Yakko's World. Right?
God bless you guys. And we're going to do it for you. We're going to do it for you right now. Hey, I have to tell you, when Rob called me, because we were doing this animation concert that several of you saw, he said, "Hey, Randy, I have cancer." And he talked about the fact that he never once, was complaining or bemoaning. But the truth is, the doctor said to Rob, "You have a very rare form of cancer. It's called the Rob Paulsen cancer." And he said, "Why me?"
Yeah. I remember that. That was me. I think I did say that. But no, so anyway, we're going to do a couple songs. And which one do you want to do first? You want to do the Nantucket or what?
Oh, Nantucket, that's a good one. That's like nice little
What's that?
one.
We're going to do the Bard too. We have a little time, right? We can do like 3 songs. We good? Great, thanks, man.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, you want to do that one first? Do you want to? Okay, Randy was charged in. Hi, Natalie.
Oh, this is not on now. Hold on.
Is it not on? Oh, is it
Hold
not on?
It's coming.
There you go. Okay, this is one of the songs from Animaniacs. But as you know, it was the best part about sort of art is that when you can do something that's not only edifying and enjoyable and maybe even sells a little merchandise, but is also really freaking entertaining, and tells you. So he was charged with. You want to do?
Yeah, with Nantucket.
Yeah. So
and
Randy
I have
was.
to apologize because several of you were. Can you hear me? Several of you last night. I know it's like Dominic, for instance, were at
Joe's Pub.
At Joe's Pub.
Yeah.
So I hate playing the same. If I'd have known you were going to be here tonight, I would have written a new song.
Yeah.
So.
Not too far from the truth. So Randy was charged in one of the episodes with explaining the concept of time. Okay? Here we go. When you're traveling from Nantucket through Chicago to St. Paul, and you're standing in an airport and you look upon the wall, there's a clock for every city and a different time for all. From Asia through Malaysia to Peru. Did you ever wonder why that when it's 6 o'clock in Maine, at precisely the same minute, it is 8 a.m. in Spain? When it's breakfast time in Rome, they're having lunch in the Ukraine. And it's supper up in Upper Kathmandu. If the earth is spinning faster while the sun is moving past her, then a day might only be an hour long. And school, when they begin it, would only last a minute before everybody has to run along. Now, if the Earth were the planet that was closest to the sun, a year would be much shorter and you'd have a lot of fun. 'Cause by the time you were in first grade, you'd be over 21. And you'd live to be 903 or 4. Time is relative dependent. You can save it, you can spend it, doing things you like to do or learning how. You can't see it, you can't taste it, but you certainly can waste it, which is really what we're doing here right now. Oh, the international dateline is this imaginary cleft. Today is on the right side, tomorrow on the left. So when you cross it, do you then arrive the day before you left? Well, that's how it worked. It's quite berserk, you see. So if you were born in China while I'm born in Carolina, well, then you're a day ahead of me, you see. But the way I've got it reckoned, if we're born in the same second, then why should you be a day older than me? But it really is no miracle, this difference in our births. Because the world is spherical, that's why around the earth there are always different times for London, Moscow, New York, and Fort Worth. And that's the way it's always gonna be. So remember, when you're traveling from Nantucket to St. Paul, and you're standing at that airport with those clocks upon the wall, that you should think about this song, my friends, and then you will recall you're not going to make it home before Easter. That it was wildly amusing, but then totally confusing, and I'll bet you wish I hadn't sung at all. How about that?
All right.
And as I always have the good at Joe's, we always have the opportunity because, you know, there's a Subway right under Joe's, right under the Public Theater. There's a Subway. So we always standing there and the Subway goes by, and I always tell people, I said, no, that's not the Subway. That's Ira Gershwin rolling over in his grave. Because of frickin' Randy Rogel.
And Rob Paulsen.
Yeah.
Can you hear me with this? Is this
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now we can do the other, the Bard?
Okay.
Okay.
You know,
now,
because, come on, we
you
have a
go
lot of
tell-
songs,
yeah.
but here we are in the bookstore. We've got to do something about literature. Yeah, the bookstore, the Strand. I think this is the biggest bookstore in New York City, right? Okay. All right, so we thought, well, then we'll do something having to do with literature.
Right.
So for all of you who who enjoys Shakespeare. We're doing all the plays.
All
of
the plays of
Shakespeare.
William
But we don't want to make
Shakespeare.
it a list long. We had to say something about each one
Right.
of the plays. So hopefully it won't get too long and boring, but you can tell us if so. A play by William Shakespeare always stimulates your thought.
Because you spent 2 hours trying to figure out the plot.
He wrote famous lines and phrases for his dog, like "out damn Spot." So who is this guy the critics praise?
Who's famous for his turn of phrase.
Wrote 37 different plays.
And lived in Elizabethan days. And made Laurence Olivier's career. Let me hear.
He lived in Stratford-on-Avon, apartment 2B.
Was it to be or not to be?
I really don't know, it's confusing to me. How do you understand Shakespeare with all of the hearts and the hoes and the flowery prose that he writes?
For men wearing tights. So bring up the lights and let's study the bard.
Hamlet's real father is killed by his brother, who now becomes king and then marries his mother.
It ends up with everyone killing each other, and that is the story that's told by the bard. Hey na ni na ni na, tra la la, la 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 la. King Henry V is a play about war.
And so is King John and King Henry IV.
Still everybody was screaming for more, so Henry VI continues the gore.
King Lear's Shakespeare's tragical ruler who cast out his daughter. The story is sad, cause then he feels bad, then he goes mad,
And both of them die. Hey na ni na ni na, tra la la, fa la 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 la. In Romeo Juliet, everyone cries.
Titus Andronicus, everyone dies.
Don't you just love those Shakespearean guys? You go to the theater, pay all this money, see all these actors who dress really funny, and you say to your date, "Are you getting this, honey? Because I'm really lost, so explain it to me." Hey na ni na ni na, fa la la la.
Macbeth is a guy who is really ambitious.
And that's why the king soon sleeps with the fishes.
Then he kills others, it's really quite vicious, until in the end he gets stabbed in the duff.
No, that's wrong. By Macduff.
Oh, right, by Macduff.
He wrote comic romances with laughter and dances where everyone prances while taking their chances with love, 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 love.
Like the comedy of Verres and Pericles.
Then Measure for Measure and Taming the Shrew.
2 Gents of Verona and then much ado about nothing. Then he'd write The Tempest and 12 Nights.
The Merry Wives of Windsor, As You Like It, and Cymbeline.
Love's Labour's Lost, A Winter's Tale, and also Midsummer Night's Dream.
Ah, The Merchant of Venice, that gets entangled.
There's Coriolanus, where soldiers get mangled.
Othello's the fellow whose wife ends up strangled, and that is the story that's told by the bard. Hey na ni na ni na, tra la la la.
Troilus and Cressida, there was a pair. They were in love, and she had an affair.
Not a great play, I don't frickin' care. Hey na ni na ni na, fa la la la.
King Richard II,
Second's a guy they would dump.
King Richard III is the guy with the hump.
Timon of Athens, he was a chump, 'cause all of his money was lent. Now it's spent, and he can't pay the rent, so he has to go live in a tent.
Julius Caesar's about an attack.
All of his friends put a knife in his back.
Then the great play that would come after that is
Antony and Cleopatra, la la, tra la la, tra la 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 la. King Henry VIII had 6 different wives.
He's faithful to each till the next one arrives.
Most of them ended up losing their lives. They're wedded and bedded, and then they're beheaded.
It's something that later he kind of regretted.
But Shakespeare's plays are the place to be for violence and killing and murder, you see. We really can't show it on children's TV, but that is the story, though it's bloody and gory. Yes, that is the story that is told by the bard. All's well that ends well. Randy Rogel. How about that?
All right. Did it get too long and boring? I hope.
Oh, man. I know it. And every time we do one of these shows, I just look at him and go, are you fucking kidding me? It's the coolest thing. All right, so you want to do the...
We're going to do Yakko's World.
All right, we're going to do Yakko's World because, and again, remember, for those of you who are, and I love telling this because for those, we always ask any songwriters in the audience, and I tell that story about Randy having this song as his audition piece because I'm like, when you go to Hollywood, that's what you run into because you just never know, and that's where they show up, and then that's the sort of thing where, Tom hears Randy doing this song, finally give him a chance, and he sticks his head out and goes, Steven, I think you should come hear this, So
well, I
anyway,
have the whole world to work with.
So. Yeah, let me get a little. Let me get some water because I had cancer.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, Rob lost a lot of weight when he had the cancer.
50 pounds.
His next book should be the cancer diet.
I was gonna say,
so, yeah, kind of gallows.
Cancer?
Humor.
Sure, cancer. No. Gallows humor. I know. That's all right. C'est la vie. Okay. All right. Here we go. The United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam. Yeah. Norway and Sweden and Iceland and Finland and Germany now one piece. Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey and Greece, Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman, Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq and Iran. There's Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemen, Kuwait and Bahrain, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium and Portugal, France and Denmark and Spain. Yeah. India, Pakistan, Burma, Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, and Bhutan, Cambodia, Malaysia, then Bangladesh, Asia, and China, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, Laos, and Tibet, Indonesia, the Philippine Islands, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Sumatra, New Zealand, then Borneo and Vietnam, Tunisia, Morocco, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland, Gambia, Guinea, Algeria, Ghana. Yeah.
We're starting to run out of time.
Burundi, Lesotho, and Malawi, Togo, the Spanish Sahara is gone. Nigeria, Chad, and Liberia, Egypt, Benin, and Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya, and Mali, Sierra Leone, and Algeria, Dahomey, Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Congo, Zaire, Ethiopia, Guinea-Bissau, Madagascar, Rwanda, Mayotte, and Cayman, Hong Kong, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Yugoslavia, Crete, Mauritania, then Pennsylvania, Monaco, Liechtenstein, Malta, and Palestine, Fiji, Australia, Sudan. Wow!
I even sped it up.
Randy Rogel. Holy moly.
Wow, that was exhausting.
Isn't that something? That never gets old, man.
Oh, I don't know.
I just... Oh, no. It's thank you.
All right, we want to thank everybody. This is our
Yes.
time, but I know you have questions. We're going to be signing books,
Yeah.
so we will answer the
Please.
questions. Yeah, we decided to do the performance instead of the usual Q&A, so
Yeah,
I hope
so-
that's okay with everybody. We're...
Are we doing any questions?
I think we're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have
Probably
to.
best
We're gonna
for us
sign
to-
books, so you can do the questions one-on-one. Do you want to do? Do we have time for a few questions, or how do you want to? It's
Do we
your
have time?
bookstore.
We can do a couple.
Okay,
Sure.
great.
All
Why
right.
don't we do that?
Fantastic.
But
If you
the
guys
bulk
have some
of the
questions, I would.
questions-
Yes, sir. Why don't we start? Yeah.
Oh.
You don't need the microphone. It's a small room. Go ahead. I can hear you.
Hey, I'm interested in becoming a voice actor. Do you just memorize all this stuff, or do you read off a script?
Oh, I'm a genius. I memorize all of it. And I got to tell you, don't even bother. No, you shouldn't be in the business. No, I don't. Thank you for asking, but no. And one of the see, Jen is a real actress. I sit with the script in front of me, and that's the best part of the gig. I go to work like this. Nobody cares what I look like. I've got the script in front of me, and I get free food. And then I go home and I get money in the mailbox. For God's sake. No, we don't have to memorize. Obviously.
Put the words in his mouth.
That's right. When we do live shows, obviously, I have to learn the words, but no. And honestly, I kind of, it's weird because a lot of the work, improv plays a big part in this particular kind of work. And it's, if they said you have to learn the lines, I would, obviously, because I got to work. But there is something to be sure that keeps it a little fresh when they give you the script. Now, we get the script in advance and go over it. But when we go in and do it, I kind of like having people throw me a curve and say, you know, we wrote this, but try it there, or what have you got? And it is a deeply collaborative effort. I have to say there are very few times when I've worked with writers who have a problem with an improv that me or Billy West or Maurice or Tress MacNeille or Frank Welker makes, because we have really mutual respect for one another. But no, it's... Yeah, thank you. But it is, it's not like being on a set, and it's quicker. You know, you don't have to worry about light, you don't have to worry about weather, all that location stuff. But in my view, it is probably the purest form of acting because you're utterly unencumbered by being an average-looking guy from Flint.
It was the first question I had of Rob, which is, what's the difference between somebody who can make funny voices or do good impressions and somebody who can sustain a voice acting career? And the difference is you have to be an actor.
It's small V, large A, for sure. It's about acting. And so when people say, what do you suggest? Well, my background was music and then theater and live action television. I went to God knows how many classes, and it's about acting. The reason you like Fry on Futurama is because Billy West is a goddamn good actor. And John DiMaggio, when he says, "Shut up, baby, I know it," he's terrific. He was a stand-up for years. Then he does TV. He goes to class. People, I had Phil Lamar on my show, whom you guys know from Hermes on Futurama and not Living Color, Mad TV. Yeah, he's a terrific actor. And he's Samurai Jack as well. And I had him on my podcast, and he said in the podcast, sorry, Rob, I got to truncate this because I'm going to class, in his fabulous house that he lives and all that, but he goes to class. So it's about acting.
Another question?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Hi.
Hi, Rob.
How you doing, buddy?
Hi, Randy.
Okay, so I'm really excited for the reboot. You have no idea how excited I am.
Thank you.
What are some of the ideas you want to cover in episodes that you never got to do before? What are some spoof parodies that you'd love to do?
Oh, you mean for the new shows?
Yeah.
Honestly, I could tell you, but like they say, I'd have to kill you, and yeah, they would kill me. I can tell you this: the gentleman who is running the show is Wellesley Wild, who was pretty much Seth MacFarlane's right-hand guy on all the Ted movies and Family Guy. So he has a very subversive sense of humor, which plays beautifully into Animaniacs. You can imagine that the usual suspects in the zeitgeist are totally being lampooned. And that's exactly the way but also, as Randy's written a couple of songs for the show. There are historical references. There are contemporary references, just like the other one. And I think the kids, and I can say that because I'm 100, but the kids writing it are very cognizant of how high the bar is. And you can see them because they actually get a little nervous because remember, we're in a unique circumstance now. Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain are all on Hulu streaming right now. Okay? So when the new shows are on Hulu in a year, you guys will be able to A/B them. So you can say, here's my favorite Pinky and the Brain episode next to a brand new one. That puts an incredible amount of pressure on the people making the new show. And it's both a little terrifying to us, but also really invigorating because I've never had that experience. But I don't think you'll be disappointed. They really, really are very smart.
By the way, the studio has not officially announced that you're there. So yeah. So this is news. This is all news.
And you know what? It was our book that broke the news because I literally sent the news. I had reminded the folks at Warner Brothers Publicity, who told us, look, we're going to make our own fancy announcement, and they're lovely people, but they got big movies coming out and all that. So we finally I said, look, our book is coming out on the 8th, and we talk very clearly about the fact that we're back doing this show. So they kind of let nature take its course. And within like an hour, people who had been kind enough to read the book on Tuesday were like, "Oh my God, they're back!" It was great.
Yeah, we had to leave those chapters out.
Yeah,
Any more questions?
Right.
Any more?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi.
During the production of Batman and Harley Quinn, I had heard that you were sick during recording of those lines. Were you actually? And if you were, how did you cope?
Oh, you mean when I sang "Don't Pull Your Love"?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That was that one I memorized because I sung the whole song. But that was a pretty powerful. I mean, it was a big hit by an outfit called Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds when I was in high school. Don't pull your love out on me, baby. If you do, then I think to me, right? And so I got Bruce Timm, one of the producers on Batman and Harley Quinn, said, "Hey, would you come in and just sing a little bit?" And I said, "Sure." So I thought it was going to be a chorus. And they had orchestrated the whole thing with Bruce Broughton, I think. And they said, no, you're going to sing the whole song, and then you're going to harmonize with yourself. And again, that's one of those little Easter eggs that you never know when you're going to do something that was utterly fun. And I had a blast. And then I went home. And then when it came out, I started, oh my God, I didn't know, I knew Rob could sing, like Yakko and Pinky and all that, but he can sing. And I got so much fan love for singing a song that was a hit 40 years ago. In fact, the writer of the song got a hold of me and said, "Hey, that was a pretty good shot at that." And so you just never know. But I promise you that there is really nothing that affects me like music to this day. There's a passage of music that can make me weep in a heartbeat, and I love that feeling. The same Jones I had that my brother and I and my sisters all still have when we were kids is the same thing I have now. The joy of being able to sing is really cool, and then when it works, it's pretty effective.
Another
Thank
question?
You for asking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably be the last one before we launch.
Okay, great. Well, we had it with this young lady. Yeah, you can certainly ask.
We'll be here a while. Don't worry.
Hello, nurse. Hi.
So words are hard, so I had to write it down. So kind of on the same line of musical theater and just theater in general, music meaning so much to you, is there a show, either a theater show or a musical that really spoke to you when you were starting into your career and just kind of helped you grow into who you are now?
Gosh, a particular show, not necessarily, my brother was an actor for years. All of us were, my brother Mike and my sisters Lori and Shelley were all involved in high school theater, community theater. I was the only one that was stupid enough to keep working at it. But my parents, and again, my dad takes a bit of a punch and is totally absolved, by the time my dad punched his ticket, he was very aware of what I did and had probably more fun with it than I did. It was wonderful. But there were times when it was pretty tough. My father was a child of the Depression, and so your kid's going to be an actor? What? Okay. But the other thing is that they utterly exposed all of us to really good music. And my parents were like, you can be in a rock and roll band and listen to Led Zeppelin and The Who and the Beatles and Jethro Tull and have a blast. But you also got to listen to the Gershwins and Prokofiev and Rachmaninoff and all that. And I love it. There's not one particular musical.
What about your first performance with your little guitar?
Well, when I was
it was
very
your mom.
young,
You blame your mom for everything we see right here. Yeah.
My sweet mother. I miss my mom every day. I miss my dad about once every 4 weeks. And he would totally get that. But when I was born and I was cognizant of music, the big hit at the time in the mid '50s was Elvis stuff. So my mother used to introduce me as Robin Paulsen and his neck guitar because I wore it around my neck. And so I would sing "You Ain't Nothing But an Old Ground Hot Dog," and swivel my hips, which was probably a felony in those days, as a child. But nonetheless, they were always about music, and so we all thanked them profusely for the fact that music was a big part of our lives. Now, certainly there were times, remember, they would say, make sure you sing again for your grandparents. Again, it was like, we got to sing Tell Me Why for my, not Tell Me, not that one. Tell me why the stars do shine, you know, from like 1927. We had to sing that. But no, it's really is part of, I think, all of our souls, and I am always grateful for the way music and humor sort of informs my life. In fact, I was the other day, and it never gets old. The other day I was watching a movie on the plane. Luciano Pavarotti went to China to do, and they did a documentary about Pavarotti in China. And he sings, you know, anything he sings is perfect, or was. It still is. He's not, of course, anymore. But he does Nessun Dorma, the la 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 la, and then he goes la 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 la, just insane. No human should do that. And every single time he does, it makes me cry. I can't help it. And it's not anything but a pure emotional impact that is, I don't know when Puccini wrote that, 100 years ago, maybe more, I don't know. But it's the same thing when you hear She's Leaving Home. It was written 40 years ago. It's good music is good music. And that's why I have to say, with Randy Rogel, I really believe I'm, you know, in the presence of a very special human. One of the songs he does about the cute song by Dot, I'm cute. I'm sweet and I'm cuddly and small, just like Dudley, but more. It's a chore. Are you kidding me? And it's not. It's you can't teach it. It's effortless, but you know when you're in the presence of something really special. And so I am a lottery winner in that regard. And I really, what a great question. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to sign Rob Paulsen.
Yeah.
Rob Paulsen.
Thank you.
Randy Rogel, thank you so much.
Great. Let's sign it off. Thank you, guys. Randy, Mike Fleeman. Yeah.